this is Kaizen, previously known as Crimson, and today I'm making this video to show all of you jammers how to determine the worth of your pet bear, or to determine the worth of someone else's bear if you're planning on trading for one. So one of the reasons that I decided to make this video was because I've been seeing some people in Township and even sometimes on the wiki looking for good shorts for their bears, and normally that's fine because some of these bears, depending on the features of course, can be worth up to a good short in value. But normally when I see people asking for good shorts for their bears, they're pretty common, or 2020 bears, or not remotely near worth that. So I wanted to make this, guide to show you how to tell what your bear is worth, how uncommon specific features are, and so on. One great thing to remember here is that the worth of your bear depends a lot on the features, like the main color of its fur, the eyes, the mouth, and the hair and the ears. Some are rarer than others, some are more uncommon, but sometimes, of course, when you're trading for any other item like this, sometimes it can depend on a trader's specific interests, but usually it always stays in the same general range. Just depending on someone's preference, they can be traded for a little bit more or a little bit less. And also, a quick reminder before I get into the features and everything of these bears, I want to remind everyone to always check the certificate of a bear before offering for it, because any bear that was adopted in 2020 is obviously worth less, because bears came out in late 2018, December I'm pretty sure, and they left at the end of January of 2019. So any bears made in 2020 are worth a lot less. Let's get into the features, and we'll talk about color in a moment. So thanks to the Animal Jam Wiki for providing me these images. Let's start with eyes. So here we go. The lashed eyelashes are obviously the most uncommon. We see those a lot, so sometimes it can bring down the value of a bear, even if it has other uncommon features on it. Other two, other eyes that are kind of like the girl eyes, just, they don't have eyelashes, obviously. These three rounded ones here, pretty much worth the same, except for that I'd say, based on experience, the lashed eye is a tad more common than these other two, but I'd say that these three are on the same general scale here. This taller rounded eye is a little bit rare. It's not necessarily typically sought after, or I don't think it will increase the value of a bear too much, but it is getting into somewhat uncommon territory. And both of these, like squinted or closed eyes here, are the rarest options for your eyes. I think they are typically on the same scale, except for if you find a bear you want to trade for and it has these arrow squinted eyes, be sure to check the certificate, because a lot of the 2020 bears have these eyes. So if you're going to trade for one, make sure check their certificate once again. So now let's move on to the hair. The hair is easy to tell the worth of, because most of them don't add much worth to the bear, except for the mohawk. The mohawk is worth more. It can increase value. So first off, this frazzled hair eye, I would call it, is the most common I usually see, and this is based off personal experience and also things I've seen people say with defining the scales of rarity of these features. So this frazzled hair, I would say most common, and then bald, and then this little tuft here, I'd say those are equally as common. And then the mohawk, you don't see it as often. You don't see it nearly as often as the other three features. I would say that if your bear has a mohawk, it can increase depending, of course, on the other features. Same thing for the ears. Most of them don't increase worth except for the triangle ears, which, I don't know if it adds too much onto it. These fuzzy, I think you could call them fuzzy ears, are the most common I see usually. And then these rounded ones here, and these blockier looking ones, I don't know how to describe them really. Fuzzy ears are probably most common, and then just like the hair, those other two are the blocky ears, and the rounded ears are about the same. And then triangle ears, you don't see them as much. So I would say those are definitely the rarest ears. And then for the snout, it's a little bit different for the snout, because if your bear is frowny, that can add a lot onto the worth. Here, for starting on the snout, the two common snouts are the smiley one here and just this berry one with no mouth, just a little bitty nose. So those two are the most common you'll see. And then here is this little longer snout with the little smirk. That one it's not per se rare, but it is getting into the uncommon territory, kind of like the tall, rounded eyes. And then, like I said earlier, the frown is the rarest of all the mouth options, and it can add a lot onto the worth of your bear. Obviously, depends on who is offering for it. But I've had personal experience with the frowny bears, and I've gotten short collars in the past for bears with frowny faces. That's all for the specific features, and now we'll get into the colors of your bear and how that affects the worth. For the color, the main body color plays a lot bigger role than the secondary color that fills in the ears and the mouth and the hair sometimes, depending on what hair you have. Sometimes it can depend, of course, like I said, depending on the person trading for it. But usually the main body color matters a lot more in these situations, and it really affects the worth of the bear. The most common colors are the white, these two browns, and the black color. Those are the most common ones. The orange and mustard are the two rarest colors you can have. And when you have a bear that's orange or mustard with the squinty or closed eyes with a frown, that's when you're getting into the real collectors rare pets like that. Those are the kinds of bears that go for good shorts, not the white ones with the lash and everything. The orange and mustard, as I know and as other people I've seen have said, those two are the rarest colors. Sometimes people like the pastels, like the lime, the lavender, and I think sometimes this moderate green here can go for maybe decent shorts. Obviously, not just the color, depends on if it can go for a decent short. Other features, obviously. All the other colors I didn't specifically mention are just moderate, uncommon. Obviously, the browns, the black, and the white, common colors, and then the orange and mustard, rarest. Everything else, moderate. Now that we've discussed all this, I thought maybe I would evaluate the worth of some of my bears and show you how I understand the worth of my bears. So let's get an example out here. So here we go. This is one I actually made myself when the bears were in stores. So this bear here, this is a white bear, so already dropped in value. Decent ears, but I don't think the ears add too much of value. It's usually the mouth, eyes, and the main color. Not much going here for value. I would say, the wiki says bears can range from a worth of 2 den betas all the way up to a good short collar. So there's a range of about 6-7 den betas there. But I would say that the minimum value of a bear is 3 den betas. This guy here could go for maybe a decent long wrist, maybe a closing beta or 2 more than that. Obviously, it depends on the person, but that's the range I would give this specific bear. Here's a good example for determining worth. So you see you have the uncommon ears, common hair, but hair I think is fine if it's uncommon. Because I don't think it weighs too much on the worth of your bear. Common mouth, decent color, and then the lavender for the second color, which doesn't matter too much. But I feel like in most cases the lash brings down the value of your bear quite a lot. So I would say that here this bear is worth maybe a good long wrist to 4 to 5 den betas. Always depends in that general range. This bear here, decent uncommon base color, somewhat uncommon snout. Same thing with the eyes. Same thing with this too. So it's a pretty decent bear. I would say bad to decent short collar. Obviously not a super uncommon color, but it's got, the lavender going for it, and the hair, So yeah, about around a bad short collar to maybe a yellow short. Here's one with the mohawk I've had for a while. So here's a green bear, some pretty uncommon color already, but not super rare. Good uncommon ears, it's got a mohawk on. However, it has pretty common eyes and mouth, so I don't know about that, if it's worth as much as some others. But I would say decent short fist guy. He's got the uncommon hair, the mouth, and pretty, collector-like colors. This is my favorite bear I've had, so let's look at this one. Blocky ears, pretty uncommon, common hair, decent color, uncommon eyes, and common mouth. So it's pretty much moderate. It's like a moderate bear. Black long wrist to a bad short, I'd say. And then let's look at this orange one, because orange is one of the rarest colors. So you have an orange bear, common mouth, eyes, and hair. So don't know about that. Somewhat uncommon eyes. So I don't know. I think this one's kind of more up for debate because it has so many common features, but uncommon color. I think black long wrist, orange short, maybe on this one. There's a few examples. So, we gotta check. Well, hopefully this helped you all. I hope that some of you learned something from this. And I'll see you all later. Thank you everyone for watching.